Hey guys, my name is Keegan Myers, and I'm going to be doing John Blair Jr. for our Founding Fathers project, and I hope you enjoy. Early life. So John Blair was born into a wealthy family in Williamsburg in the year 1732. His father, John Blair Sr., was an important public official, and his mother was the daughter of a rector in St. John's Parish. John Blair Jr.'s uncle actually happened to be James Blair, who went on to found the College of William and Mary, and that John Blair Jr. would later study and graduate there from as well. So, education. John Blair Jr. went on to study and graduate from the University of William and Mary. That was the college that his uncle James Blair had went on and founded. Um, After his graduation, he then moved to London, England, and went on to study law at Oxford's Middle Temple. So, work background. After his graduation from Middle Temple, he then went on to return to Williamsburg to start his own law practice. From there, he would go on to serve in the House of Burgesses as a representative from William and Mary from 1766 to 1770. From there, from 1770 to 1775, Blair would go on to be the clerk for the Governor's Council. After that, in 1778, he became a judge on the Virginia General Court. Next, in 1780, he would become the Chancellor of the High Court and would be appointed to Virginia's first Court of Appeals. Then, after a nomination from George Washington, John Blair Jr. was appointed to the first United States Supreme Court in September of the year 1789. So, John Blair Jr. and the Constitution. John Blair Jr. belonged to the Federalist Party, and he supported the ratification of the Constitution. Though Blair never officially served on any committee, he often attended the conventions such as the Constitutional Convention and the Virginia Ratifying Convention, and often spoke of how he felt. Another case that John Blair Jr. was able to act upon was Haburn's case. From there, Blair decided that a congressional act ordering circuit court judges to serve as pension commissioners was unconstitutional, since it was not a judicial duty to supervise a federal pension. He ruled that there was a separation of powers violation by designating circuit judges as administrators to the federal pensions. Retiring and death. So Blair found it very difficult and very stressful to serve as both a judge on the Supreme Court as well as a circuit judge. His caseload was between New Jersey all the way to Virginia, and it became too much, which led to his retiring. In the High Court in the year 1796. Just 4 years later, at the age of 68, he would die in Williamsburg in the year 1800. Now, here on slide 8, I've come up with a resume that I believe John Blair Jr. would have used for himself. Here we have his experience. He served at the House of Burgesses from 1766 to 1770. Then from 1770 to 1775, he would serve as the clerk of the Governor's Council. In 1778, he would become a judge on the Virginia General Court. Later in 1780, he would become the Chancellor of the High Court and was appointed to Virginia's first Court of Appeals. And then in 1789, he would serve on the first U.S. Supreme Court, and he was appointed by George Washington. For his education, we would see that he graduated from the College of William and Mary in 1754, and then would go on to study law in London at Oxford's Middle Temple, and then would, of course, come back to Williamsburg to start his own law practice. And then just below that, I put two of his major court cases, which would be the Commonwealth v. Caton and the Christian v. Georgia. On top of that, you could go ahead and add the Hayburn's case. Now here's my works cited page going through the 5 sources that helped me the most on conducting my research for my project and ultimately giving me the information I needed to put within this slideshow. Hello everyone, my name is John Blair Jr. and I am both a circuit judge as well as a judge on the Supreme Court. I graduated from the University of William and Mary, which my uncle founded, and then I went on to study law at Oxford's Middle Temple in London, England. Once I graduated from Middle Temple, I moved back to Williamsburg, and I served on many courts and councils, and I helped everyone found the Constitution, and I became one of this great country's earliest leaders. Thank you so much.